INEC receives last consignment of bimodal voter accreditation and BVAS machines.
Electricity supply. Federal government addresses shortfall between generation and distribution caused by weak transmission.
FCT health authorities puts in place measures against possible outbreak of Ebola.
And Good Morning Nigeria today takes a look at 2023 expectations for the agricultural sector. With all the hurdles of last year, there's no gainsaying that 2022 was not fair to farmers and the agri sector due to various challenges experienced in the sector. Now, these include climate change, the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict that affected input, prices, and the availability of staples such as wheat, insecurity, drought, and flood, just to mention a few.
Yeah, of course, last year, the World Food Programme, WFP, stated that the world is facing food crisis of unprecedented proportion, the largest in modern history, with millions at risk of worsening hunger. According to the program, as many as 828 millions of people, go to bed hungry every night, as the number of those facing acute food insecurity has increased from 135 million to 345 million since 2019, while a total of 49 million people in 49 countries are teetering on the edge of famine.
Very true. And in Nigeria, the state of insecurity in the northeastern part of the country increased. Banditry, farmer header clashes, hazardous pesticides, climate change, floods, and gender inequality have drastically impacted on the productivity level of farmers across the country. Now, this obviously is attesting to the fact that Nigeria is not immune to the failing agri-food systems that now affect the globe.
In spite of the various challenges facing the sector in Nigeria, the National Bureau of Statistics explains that the first quarter of 2022 grew by 3.16% year-on-year in real terms, an increase of 0.88% points from the corresponding period of 2021, and a decrease of 0.42%, pointing from the preceding quarter, which recorded a growth rate of 3.58%.
And not only that, care and capital importation into Nigeria's agricultural sector increased by 3.161% from $1.76 million in the first quarter of 2022 to $57.41 million in the second quarter of 2022. Now, this meant that there was a 3.161% growth within 3 months.
Exactly, and one of the remarkable events of the year was the unveiling of the rice pyramid by President Muhammadu Buhari, with the hope of crashing the rising price of rice in the country. The 13 rice pyramids, which comprised of 1.2 million units of 100 kg bags of rice, were said to be the biggest on the continent, with each of the pyramids containing about 115,000 bags of 100 kg each.
Ironically, prices of rice continued to increase in the country, as a 50 kg bag of locally produced rice goes for between 38,000 naira and 41,000 naira, as against the 28,000 naira to 30,000 naira sold before the launch of the rice pyramids, just as the youths continue to migrate to the city, abandoning farming.
Well, of course, the entire idea of engaging the youth is a laudable development. But again, to follow it up and processes and all of that, to engage them financially, to really enter into agriculture in a business manner, is another thing. All right, now, how can the federal and state governments eradicate the various barriers associated with the agricultural economic growth in the country? And what can be done to develop the value chain of agriculture, since agriculture, of course, is not only about primary production, but also about the value chain. These are some of the issues we shall be interrogating when we engage our guests today on the program, on the expectations for the agricultural sector in 2023. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kirian Umayo. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Ian Ray John. Thank you for joining us. Good Morning Nigeria is coming to you live on the network service of the NTA. And as usual, we'll start with a complimentary segments with the news highlights. And Tessie O'Mary will be our guide. Hello, Tessie. Good morning to you.
Good morning,
Happy New Year,
Ian Ray.
Tessie.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Ian Ray and Kieran. Good morning, Nigerians, and here is the morning news. As part of preparations for the next month's general elections, INEC has received the last consignment of the bimodal voter accreditation beavers machines. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, national commissioners and senior officials of the commission were at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, to receive the beavers. A statement by INEC National Commissioner for Information, Festus Okoye, explains that to facilitate the smooth delivery of the machines, INEC created 4 airport hubs in Abuja, Kano, Lagos and Port Harcourt. Over the last 4 months, several flights delivered the beavers to the designated airports for movement to states of the Federation ahead of the elections. With the arrival of the last flight in Abuja, the Commission has now taken delivery of the required number of beavers for all the polling units in the country and extra machines in line with the contingency provisions for all critical election materials. The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory sitting in Gariki, Abuja, has squashed the allegations of false assets declaration against the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. In an originating summons filed by Somadina Zobaka, the claimant sought, among other things, an order of mandatory injunction directing and compelling the INEC chairman to step down pending the investigation and consideration of the various allegations against him. The plaintiff also sought an order of court stopping the INEC chairman from holding or assuming any public office for a period of 10 years. Professor Yakubu, who is, in response to the allegation, furnished the court with several exhibits to show the sources of money for the purchase of the properties which the plaintiff alleged were illegally acquired, and insisted that his asset declaration were validly done. In a judgment, Justice Hassan found that the declaration of assets by the INEC chairman is lawful, valid and in compliance with the law, and that he cannot be investigated by any of the security agencies listed by the claimant. The judge declined to grant any of the 14 prayers of the claimant and allowed the counterclaims of the defendant. And on security, the Department of State Services has arrested the mastermind of a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device attack on 29th December 2022 near the palace of the Hinoi of Ibralan in Okene, Kogi State, during the president's visit to commission some projects in the state. A statement by the DSS spokesperson, Dr. Peter Afunaya, says the service arrested one Abdul Mumin Ibrahim Otaru, also known as Abu Magdad, and his associates, Saidu Suleiman, on the 3rd January 2023. Otaru, according to the statement, sustained a gunshot injury on his left foot while attempting to escape. He is currently receiving treatment at a health facility. Investigations by DSS revealed that Otaru was a high commander of Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP, and has coordinated several attacks, including the 5th July 2022 attack on Kuje Medium Security Custodial Center in Abuja. Similarly, Otaru and his gang have staged several kidnap operations in Kogi and Ondo states. Meanwhile, the suspects are in custody and will be prosecuted accordingly. While reiterating its commitment to the safety of the nation, the DSS assures that it worked assiduously with stakeholders, including sister security agencies, to tackle the menace of terrorism and other forms of criminality in the country. The generation capacity of Nigeria's power sector is estimated at 13,000 megawatts, but what is distributed is less than 4,000 megawatts. The shortfall between generation and distribution is attributed to weak transmission network. But there is a cheery news as federal government is addressing the challenges of impending supply of adequate electricity through the Presidential Power Initiative.
The Siemens agreement will boost capacity in terms of resolving the issues of the bottlenecks in the distribution interface. If generation has been improved, and then also transmission network. Transmission network has also been improved and made to evacuate power. Issues of, not being coherent with the targets, achievable targets in the sector will be addressed by the intervention of the agreement signed for Siemens by President Muhammadu Buhari.
The project is going on very well, and it's aimed at.
Let's talk health. In the wake of renewed alerts on the deadly Ebola virus disease owing to emerging trends around sub-Saharan Africa, the FCT health authorities has put in measures to forestall any possible outbreak of Ebola and other infectious diseases, not forgetting COVID-19.
Ebola, as we call it, is one of the diseases that is classified as viral hemorrhagic fever, and the Ebola virus disease is one of them. In short form, we call it EBD. As we speak, we have outbreaks in some countries, particularly African countries. The world is a global village, and one case of Ebola is an outbreak. It's a very highly infectious and very deadly. The EPID division of the public health is in alert mode. In addition to the diseases of public health importance reported under the Integrated Disease Surveillance IDSR routinely.
Meanwhile, Ghana has joined the list of countries taking measures against traveling to and through China in the wake of the current wave of COVID-19. In the People's Republic of China, the Ghanaian government is warning its citizens to take necessary measures while embarking only on essential travel to China. In a statement by the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, the Ghanaian government has declared that with effect from 6th January 2023, travelers from China to Ghana will be required to present a 48-hour PCR test result and undergo mandatory antigen testing at the point of entry free of charge until further notice. And it is on that health note that we conclude the morning news, and I'll hand you over to Kingsley and Inyanre for the continuation of the program after this break.
Nigeria now we country, APC not the party, now one man be a choice. Nigeria now we country, APC not the party, now one man be a choice. Who be the president we need? Who be the president we go for?
People of Nigeria don't talk them say na Asiwaju Bola Tinubu them want as president of Nigeria.
Our country people get many reasons we make them all agree say na Asiwaju Bola Tinubu them choose for this president election.
Yes, Bola Tinubu na man we sabi. Anything we put in hand, he dey work wella.
He do better work for Lagos State when he be governor. Till today, Lagos people still they enjoy from all the better things we jaburata for Lagos. People of Nigeria, he good to make we vote for who sabi.
As it can't be so, make we all come out for election day and vote Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria.
Vote Senator Kashim Shettima as a vice president.
Vote APC, the party with the broom.
Who be the president we go for?
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children, protect them, from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who's a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The security challenges we are faced as a government have been daunting, from terrorism to banditry, to kidnapping, to separatist violence, to crude oil theft, to armed robbery and sundry crimes. It's undoubtedly the greatest challenge to the peace and security of our great country since the Civil War of 1967 to 1970. It is a kind of challenge that would have overwhelmed many nations. But thanks to the purposeful leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, we can say, I want to repeat, that the worst is over, and peace and security are gradually returning to the land.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
What is happening? Your eyes are red. You are armed with a machete and a gun.
See, I am angry and I can't even contain it. See.
Oh, my guy, calm down, calm down.
See, Oga, I have planned to go and destroy these people's businesses in the city. I have to retaliate for what they've done at our own place. They cannot eat their cake and have it now, never.
If you destroy their business here, and they destroy that of those close to you over there, especially that your brother who sends you steady cash, how would you survive? Would your dreams be on hold?
See, what you're saying is correct. But I'm still angry.
The best way is to embrace peace. With peace and unity,
my people, let us embrace peace and unity. Let's learn to live as brothers and sisters for a progressive, prosperous nation. This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Up next is business news with Comfort Amudu.
The Central Bank of Nigeria says its attention has been drawn to misleading online publication, which made several false claims concerning the recent sale of the federal government's interest in Polaris Bank Limited. Statement by Director Corporate Communications Osita Nwasubi said contrary to claims by an online publication, the divestment from Polaris Bank was supervised by a divestment committee comprising senior representatives of AMCON and CBN and supported by reputable legal and financial advisors. The divestment process and decision received requisite board and regulatory approvals. At no time did any other party make a higher purchase offer as falsely claimed by the online publication. The entity in question, Fairview Acquisition Partners, did not take the opportunity to update their offer by participating in the divestment process and thus did not make a binding purchase offer for Polaris Bank. The divestment was executed based on the relevant laws, global best practices for bank resolutions, and requisite regulatory approvals. The CBN says it remains resolute in pursuing its mandate to promote a safe and sound financial system in Nigeria.
Is there enough market intelligence to guide the whole process?
Africa is set to have huge domestic markets for various goods and services and a destination for leading brands. To sustain this trajectory, key players say Africa must work together to develop a unified regulatory framework and policies that will be a win-win for African countries.
If we don't break the policy barriers that will enable export and import, then it will be difficult for our products, a lot of products from creative industries, from agricultural produce to even leave Nigeria.
The equities market closed Wednesday trading session in positive territory. The All Share Index advanced by 0.12% at 51,657.56 basis points. With Business News Comfort, Amadu.
Comfort, thank you. We appreciate that. Now, next is a review of national dailies, newspaper review.
As usual, Chukwudi Okoli-Ugbaja is standing by for the newspaper review. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning too. How are you?
Doing very well.
Recite for sore eyes. Thank God you're here now.
Happy New Year, by the way. I think it's the first time I'm seeing you this year.
That's why I said you recite for sore eyes. You went away. Now you're back. We're happy you are. Kirian?
Yeah, good to see you.
Same here.
As always.
Thank you.
We have 3 papers for review this morning, plus, of course, other items that you may present. But anyway.
All right, let's begin with the Punch this morning. So many stories right here on the front page of the Punch newspaper. And just starting with the Borders headline, which reads, Discos hike electricity tariff. Secretly, consumers kick. I'm sure you want to hear that again. Discos hike electricity tariff secretly, consumers kick. And the writers, consumers accuse Discos of fleecing Nigerians, operators, neck silent. Discos began new tariffs January 1. Their order arbitrary increments. And that's coming from ECAN. Details on page 20 of the Punch. Beside the masthead, we have, I don't understand why assassins killed my brother, wife, son, slain CBN workers' sibling. Very sad story, which happened on January 1, and details on page 3 of the Punch. Above the masthead, we have NNPC prospects for oil in Niger, Borno. Page 23 has the details, and next to that, we have Nigeria's debt to hit 77 trillion naira. Loan servicing gulps 5.2 trillion naira, and you can read up that on page 19. We also have the CBN in the news. Of course, we have 25 buyers invited for Polaris Bank sale, and that is credited to the CBN. And of course, we have the CBN governor's picture right there, Emefiele. Of course, so many stories, you know, about the CBN and the CBN governor. Away from that, we have the picture story in front of the Punch this morning, and below that we have elections. INEC sets aside 8,809 beavers as backup, and details on page 2 of the Punch. We also have fuel marketers boycott private depots. And on page 5 of the Punch this morning, we have 20 youths feared dead as Kebbi boat capsizes. And finally, from the Punch, we have 2.74 trillion naira security budget low. That's credited to the reps panel. Quickly moving to the leadership newspaper. Now we have the lead headline, which says federal government at crossroads, says debt profile may hit 72 trillion naira. And the kicker to that story is alteration of 2023 budget. The riders decries 6 trillion naira loss to tax waivers, says stamp duty allegations still under investigation. Exchange rate may go above $1 to 1,000 naira. That's coming from Utomi. All right, above that we have I'll serve Nigeria with all my heart. Tinubu assures Nigerians, on details on page 7. Above that we have another fuel scarcity imminent as NUPENC threatens nationwide strike. Details on page 7. This story is not interesting this morning. Above the leadership, we have PDP on edge as G5 governors meet in Oyo. That's on page 4 of the leadership. Next to that, we have Bochi Emirate sacks Kingmaker for disrespecting Bala Muhammad. All right, that's on page 17 of the leadership. Just, quickly looking at some headlines. Just beside the picture story of the leadership this morning, we have, after 4 years, FG inaugurates new NDDC board. Details on page 24. Assets declaration, court stops probe. Arrest of INEC chairman. Details on page 12. And finally, DSS arrest masterminds of Kogi explosion. And you can read up that also on page 12 of the leadership. So that's it from the leadership this morning.
Okay, before bringing Chukudi, let me quickly take a look at the New Telegraph. Above the nameplate of the New Telegraph for this morning, fuel subsidy, EFCC recovers 13 billion naira illegal payments with a rider, or two riders rather. Nigeria instrumental to OPEC's December oil output, according to report. Production peaked at 1.35 million barrels per day. Details of that on page 3 and 35. Now, below the name flag, Buhari's visit. DSS arrests mastermind of Kogi explosion. It's on page 6. Says suspect senior ISWAP commander. ASU kicks as federal government withholds unions' November dues over audit report. That's on page 4. Importation stifling Nigeria's sufficiency in drug manufacturing. That's according to NAVDAC. That story is on page 5 of the New Telegraph. Ngige, why I am not supporting Tinubu Atiku Obi Kwankwaso says Buhari's government not responsible for hardship. It's on page 2. Now the lead story, DMO, Nigeria's total debt stock to hit 77 trillion naira by May 2023. As federal government forecloses debt restructuring. So other riders include defense and security get 2.98 trillion naira infrastructure, 1.24 trillion health, and 1.15 trillion allocations in 2023. Budgets hopeless, says Ezekwesili. Well, okay, now beside the picture story on the New Telegraph, new Naira notes we are yet to see touch redesigned currencies. That's on page 29. Bauchi residents lament. Yes, new Naira notes we are yet to see touch the redesigned currency in Bauchi State. Okay, Atiku to Tinubu, you are not qualified to speak on integrity. So pages 5 and 26. APC plans mega rally for Enugu. All right, now shake up as NAF appoints new branch chiefs, AOCs, and others. Customs Board elevates 3 ACGs, 1,490 senior officers. The story is on page 5. Mbaka returns to adoration ground after 8-month suspension in monastery. It's on page 28. All right, 2023 polls, that's the kicker. INEC takes delivery of Beaver's last batch. The story on pages 2, 3, and 8. It laments 800,000 unclaimed PVC in Ogun State. Court throws out suit on asset declaration against INEC chairman. Nigeria records 35 new COVID-19 cases in 1 week. New variants not detected in the country yet, NCDC. Shikudu Waja, we have taken part of your time. But
quite a chunk,
yes.
So I'm going to be breezy about it.
Exactly.
Let's start with the EFCC recovering 13 billion naira illegal payments in the name of subsidy. This is coming from a document reportedly published on the website of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. That's the NFIU, according to the New Telegraph. I heard it from you. Yeah. Now, it links it to the National Inherent Risk Assessment of Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing in the Nigerian extractive sector. The first thing you want to consider here is the credibility of the story. But since a website is quoted, we can say that some attribution has taken place. Having said that, one would have expected the EFCC to be the ones to beat their own chest. I mean, 13 billion naira illegal payments, discovered by the EFCC. It's not a joke. One would have expected them to be the ones to out with it. But it shouldn't surprise us, that sharp practices are being intoned in the subsidy regime. If Nigeria could move from about, that's in the story we just had there. The point I'm trying to make now is we shouldn't be surprised that illegal payments have been discovered. If we remember that when bunkering was finally decided to be clamped down on, a lot of things happened. Carrion, a lot of things happened. Yeah, we moved from 900,000 barrels per day to now 1.35 million barrels per day within just 4 months. Can you see the beauty of enforcement? A time comes when you tell people you can't cross that line anymore. Now, intelligence units are eloquent on the existence of persons of bad intention in the country. The questions you want to ask, therefore, is what are the precautions being taken against fraud? And when people are caught, does it just stop at this, the discovery and plugging the holes? Are they brought to book? Because this would be a good source of a deterrent in future. I think these are things we have to consider. The good thing is that the timeline on total removal of subsidies still remains June. Maybe that's when all the wahala will come to an end. That's what I think. That's an opinion.
Of course, another type of wahala could also evolve, because analysts have indicated in the past that, of course, the removal of subsidy is the right thing to do. But then something comes after that. There has to be a buffer for it. Because it's going to be a kind of shock, because it will bring a kind of economic earthquake, if you like, in terms of it will affect all other things that we do, food items,
well, there's always a bandwagon effect.
Exactly.
It's a domino.
And if proper plan is not made to checkmate such shocks, then it's going to be another wahala, as you put it.
There's a second one, quickly. ASU kicks as FG withdraws union's November dues over audit report. Now, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Labour and Employment, that's Olajide Oshudu, is alleging that in spite of the government's request for same, ASU has not submitted an audit report on monies remitted to the union over a 4-year period. Now, this is an issue of transparency, if I may say so. Now, if it is true, does ASU have a reason for withholding the report? If the reasons are there, has ASU told us what the reasons are? I think these are issues we have to take up. Then quickly, Nigeria records 35 new COVID cases in 1 week. COVID is cold condition sensitive. We cannot assume we'll be insulated from it. Let's be cautious. That's what I think.
And I would quickly want to take you up on that. I mentioned that last week. I remember vividly when the federal government.
We are not going to gloat over it.
And Karen was very optimistic that we have it under control. So I would like you to respond now.
No. Let me respond. Do you think that all this while that people has been keeping quiet about COVID, that people are not happy, people don't
there they go.
People stay happy.
Let's leave
but
it.
They know how to deal with it. That's what we're saying. Because it will come, usually, when such thing comes, you deal with it. We have cough, we have other flus like that. It's a class of
Lady and gentlemen, is a non-issue.
Well, let's be
scientific.
I think from
COVID
today,
and there is need for caution.
Yes, there's need for caution, and then maybe from now henceforth, I'll begin to call Karen Dr. Karen, because
she
it looks
sticks
like
to her guns.
he seems to have the medicine. So I mean,
actually, I remember the instance. We should be scientific about it.
All right,
exactly. Should be.
Well, actually, out of time, but quickly, this disco issue and increasing tariff secretly. I mean, is that right?
Well, the tariff has been increased previously. The secretly aspect of it suggests to me it's an investigation. when it's an investigation, you're cautious about it because it's not attributed to any member of the NERC, that's the NERC, or the discos. So let's leave it at this stage.
No, but if you get,
if you have bought hound to find out what the case is.
If you have bought, you know, electricity, whatever it is called, this year from January, it is clear that the unit you get is less than what you got.
I paid
last year.
I bought about 15,000 naira in November, which is going to take me to. So I have not discovered.
Okay, well, for those who have actually patronized any of the discos,
I don't know what has happened. Whether there is a manipulation in the metering system, or it's was adjusted to go faster. Because these are simple things that we should know. Those things can be made to go faster or slower, as the case may be. The metering.
They don't have to touch your meter.
Look, who
it's an online thing.
Was it manufactured by?
No, they don't have to touch your meter to increase anything. That's
the number of units you get.
Do you know that sometimes they'll come and check your meter to check the functionality of the meter, because they have the knowledge that some clever guys can adjust that meter to move slowly. Whatever unit you buy, it is the meter that discharges it into the system.
Oh, that's their routine check.
Exactly. So when they do that, they want to know whether you have tampered with it.
Oh, sure.
So they do that. So it is a
tampering with the meter is completely different from the issue of raising tariff without actually informing your customers.
Yes, that's the point I was making.
That
they don't
is the
need
main
to touch
issue.
a meter to do that. It will be done from headquarters.
Anyways, we're out of time, so we'll leave it at that for now, and of course we'll take a break. When we come back, we shall get into the discussion properly on Good Morning Nigeria. Please stay with us.
Nigeria, African beauty on the Gulf of Guinea, blessed with natural landmarks and wildlife reserves. Nigeria, largest economy in Africa. Nigeria, famous accomplishment in entertainment and sports. Nigeria, resourced with globally respected human capital. Our uniqueness lies in our tenacity, our acumen, a testament of success. At NTA, we are forever proud to be the showcase channel of this positive energy and the reflection of the good in our nation. The capacity to tell our nation's story would not have been possible without the support and patronage of the three arms of government: ministries, departments, agencies, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, and of course you, our esteemed viewers. As we wish you a prosperous new year, let's get set to make 2023 even greater together.
The violent and criminal activities of indigenous people of Biafra and its arm wing, the Eastern Security Network, present the greatest threat in the Southeast zone. However, kidnapping for ransom, armed banditry, communal clashes have been some of the security threats that bedevil the region. Accordingly, joint military operations are being conducted in the Southeast to overcome the threats and to entrench peace and security. The military effort, in collaboration with other security agencies, are achieving the set objectives, which are the defeat of the threat and restoration of peace and security in the region.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve the sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news, or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Our country one better. Nigeria one better. Our country one better. Nigeria one better. Who go do one for us? Papa talk and move, Mama talk and move for a better Nigeria. Good life uncle. Now you we want to. Now you we need oh.
Yes, so people of Nigeria they jolly for the better when one shell for we country. So as they ready to vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria, our people don't look the matter well. Say na only Bola Tinubu don't do what everybody fit see. Now him get the experience where he go fit use take make our country better, make life sweet for we and our picking them. Bola Tinubu don't gather better plan to chest down war for we youth, better school, the security of lives and property, unity and peace for all we country people of Nigeria. But these and many other better things when in don't vocalize, it good make we all vote Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for president of Nigeria. Vote Kashim Shettima as vice president. Vote APC, the party where show broom.
Now you we need oh.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
All right, we are glad you're still with us on Good Morning Nigeria for today. To begin our discussion on the subject matter, which is of course the expectations in the agricultural sector in 2023, let's get this report put together by Abdul Salam Jibril.
According to former U.S. President Thomas Jefferson, agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will, in the end, contribute most to real wealth, good morals, and happiness. This certainly underscores the importance of agriculture in today's world. Some experts maintain that, globally, agriculture impacts society in many ways by supporting livelihoods through food, habitat, job creation, and providing raw materials, among others. In the not-too-distant past, agriculture was the mainstay of Nigeria's economy. Some analysts insist that, despite the presence of oil in the country, it is the main source of livelihood for most Nigerians, as it provides food and jobs for the populace. Available data from the National Bureau of Statistics reveals that agriculture accounts for about 23% of the country's gross domestic product. The Bureau also indicates that the agricultural sector in the first quarter of 2022 grew by 3.16%, an increase of 0.88% from the corresponding period of 2021. The sector also grew by 1.34% in the third quarter, showing an increase of 7.47% from the same quarter of 2021. This is despite the World Food Programme's assertion in 2022 that the world is facing a food crisis of unprecedented proportions, with millions at risk of worsening hunger brought about by climate change, conflict, and the threat of global recession. With these threats, what is to be expected in the sector in 2023? Are there provisions for the adoption of relevant technology to further enhance the sector? Access to land, finance, and fertilizers has been a bane for farmers across the country. How will these be addressed? Guest on Good Morning Nigeria will be speaking on expectations for the agricultural sector in 2023 shortly.
Thank you, Abdusalam, for the background report. Now joining us in the studio right here in Abuja to discuss our topic is the Director of Federal Department of Agriculture, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Engineer Abdullahi Garba Abubakar. Thank you for joining us and Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
Also with us in the studio is the Dean, Faculty of Agriculture, University of Abuja, Professor Akim Oyerinde. Prof is also a fellow and the National Secretary, Entomological Society of Nigeria. You're welcome, Prof.
Good morning, Nigerians, and Happy New Year.
All right, and next to me is Architect Kabir Ibrahim. Architect Ibrahim is a member of Board of Trustees, National Agricultural Development Foundation of Nigeria, and a farmer. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, it's indeed a pleasure to have you here. We've had each and every one of you a number of occasions, on this platform discussing issues related to agriculture. And of course, agriculture is the mainstay of any viable economy, be it in developed country, developing or underdeveloped nation. But what matters is how are you prepared to harness the value chain of agriculture to be able to have a viable economy. And agriculture is also a sector that has been neglected over the years by successive administrations. But later, perhaps in the last 10 years or thereabout, there was a paradigm shift in terms of government policy and implementation capacity of government in terms of enhancing agriculture. And the present administration also added to that, but of course, bringing more life or putting more blood or injecting more blood into the agricultural system. But let's do an evaluation now of what happened last year with respect to agriculture. And I would like to begin with Professor Akim Oyerinde.
Okay. When we talk about agriculture, Africa as a whole, agriculture has been a tradition of our people. We are so blessed that we have more than 1/3 of the natural resources as regards the globe, that's the whole world, being resident in Africa. And that's why when you move out of Nigeria and you move elsewhere, to other part of the globe, you will not see a place where you can throw a seed and it will grow crazily and start producing without nurturing. So it means God has blessed us with all the resources that is required. In the last 7-8 years, there is more attention into agriculture. But are we moving in the right direction? Are the real actor in the agricultural value chain, are they getting the resources? Because the budget provision and what has been given to agriculture recently by the President Muhammadu Buhari's government, he pays so much attention to agriculture. But the fact remains that even from the prelude of this program, that's not the kind of agric we want to be presenting, where you have the younger ones will not want to do a laborious agriculture. In that prelude, you see people planting rice, dipping it manually. The youth, the younger ones, will not take that from us. They want us to have an agric that is evolving, where you can have expanse of land that will be cultivated with fewer number of people, and the productivity will increase. Last year, 2022, the contribution of agric to our GDP dipping. The year before it was 25-point-something%, but last year it ended at 23.3%. It means that there's a slight reverse from what was achieved in the 2 previous years. So it means that the government is having so much interest in agriculture, but the real actor within the agricultural value chain are not getting the attention. I know you take me to that we have Anchor Borrowers Program and a host of other things. And we have funds that are released in the ministry and a host of other programs. But who are the actual people that are participating? Who are the actual people that have access to all the helps? Are they the portfolio farmer like what I used to say? Or are they political farmers? Because whether we like it or not, the subsistence farmer, which Architect Kabir represents here, we have clusters of actors within the agricultural value chain that are small, older farmers. Are we assisting them? Are we helping them? No. Because the only way we can help them is to introduce modernity, modern way of farming that will be enticing. We will usually talk about rural-urban migration. The children will have to leave the village because they are not seeing hope of staying there. But in developed world, in the last 3 months thereof, I was in Netherlands. Netherlands doesn't have what we have. But in Netherlands, the development they have in Netherlands focus that even the children, the younger ones that are in the suburb, that's the countryside that you call the villages, don't even want to come to the city because they have all what is required. When I was in Israel, China, and a host of other countries, you see that the villages, or that's what we call it in Nigeria, are even more developed that you prefer to go and stay there to have a good livelihood than rushing to come to the city. So what we should do is not new. We have so many agri programs. The latest one that was released is NATIP. That's the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy. It's a policy in the good direction. We cannot practice agriculture without innovation. And there's this misconstrued and misconception about mechanization. Immediately we said we should mechanize farming. The next thing that comes to the mind of everybody is tractor. There's a difference between tractorization and mechanization. In mechanization, you can have small tools just to assist the farmer to do what they want to do as easy as possible. And we should be thinking of indigenizing this. Because I remember one of my friends that was the director of mechanization in the Ministry of Agri before, we argued this. Now, why must you be importing agri implement to Nigeria? Why? In 2015, when I was in China, the Minister of Commerce in China said they are still doing what they call imitation as at 2015. Because the first set of phone that we used that came from China, we call it ongona. When you carry it, it makes noise. It will hit your ear. But now, most of the phones that we are using comes from China because they have learned their lesson that they want to make mistake and advance from the mistake.
All right.
So in 2015, let me close with this. In between 2015 and 2018, they said they will start innovation. So the NATIP that we are talking about, we should be thinking of how do we develop our technology locally by adopting, by enhancing that so that it suits our ecological area and it suits our bio-ecosystem.
Many thanks, Professor Akim Oyorinde. Of course, you have mentioned some of the challenges in the agricultural sector, but I would like to hear from Architect Kabir Ibrahim. You are a farmer. You know, Professor has spoken to us from the classroom. You are in the farm. So I want you to tell us exactly what really are the challenges of, you know, an average farmer in Nigeria. And be specific about last year. You know, some of the challenges so that we can look for how we can get it right this year.
Well, I agree with the professor in all the things that he said. And then talking from the farmer's point of view, I would like to reiterate the fact that our farmers must be incentivized to innovate, to take agriculture as a business, to search for information and make what they do viable. Now, government is supposed to create the enabling environment. To do that, government cannot fund all agricultural business. The windows that are open today in the, for instance, the CBN Anko Borrower, as Prof rightly said, it is targeting people who have connections and who know one person or another. You should make it wholesale to all farmers. The farmers will take this money, use it, and pay back for others to get. The thing has to be revolving because you cannot have enough fund to go around all the farmers in this country. It is very, very important that we target the real farmer in giving credit. Also, we should be able to appoint people to run our agricultural system because they know what to do, because they are capable of doing it, not because of politics or because of whom they know. You must pick and choose people, and you have to have many of these programs actually institutionalized. Some of the interventions are ad hoc. You will see, because you are going down memory lane, Krian said the last 10 years. I would want to say the last 16 years has seen a lot of intervention in agriculture that should have taken us beyond where we are today. But because of implementation and because of targeting of the farmers, because we have not been looking inwards, we have missed the point. The farmer is anybody who chooses to do agriculture as first a means of survival, two, as a business. The farmer should be able to access information, credit from inside, from Nigeria. And it should be able to do that, it should be able to do that seamlessly. Agriculture itself does not take place here in Abuja, for instance, the federal capital. It takes place in the rural areas. It's a rural thing. If you take anywhere in the world, agriculture actually takes place in the rural areas. And the rural areas have to be made livable for people to remain there and work. And then as you mechanize, there are many things, many jobs that will sprout from agriculture, from processing, from distribution, even from consumption. So you don't have too many people like we have now working in agriculture. And then we have so much problems. Because if you take the first world, take United States, for instance, the population of the farmers is hardly 2% of the population because of mechanization. If you take Europe, it's about 3% because of mechanization. So we must be able to do mechanization. I'm glad that you have Alhaji Abubakar here. He is the erstwhile director of mechanization before he became director of FDA. Yeah, he knows very well that Nigeria needs a lot of mechanization. We have been talking since 2017 of getting a loan in kind from Brazil to the extent of 1.1 billion. Up to now, is not actualized. He knows why. We don't have the impetus to really make it happen. How can you be talking of a loan package for this number of years and it's not there? So our problem is not policy, it is implementation.
Yes, I'll pause you there. Implementation, a very key word in what I have submitted this morning, because I recall during the Obasanjo administration, there was this UNESCO report or UNESCO blueprint. There was a request, by Obasanjo then for a blueprint on what the Prof mentioned earlier, homegrown technology. What is the process of homegrown technology? That document was not only meant for Nigeria, because UNESCO expanded it to also involve other African nations. That if you implement this blueprint, both agricultural chain, process, and all of that will fall in place. Okay, so let's go to Director, Department of Agriculture, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The rural aspect of it, which you raised, because agriculture is also local. Now, give us a sense of what happened last year in the agricultural sector, the efforts government has made so far. We appreciate the fact that this government advanced reasonably, in that sector, bringing in intervention mechanism and other policies that have been properly implemented. Of course, we had the pyramid, the rice pyramid, and all that. So tell us more about that.
Well, actually, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has done a lot in terms of supporting smallholder farmers. We have really never gotten it so good, particularly in this administration, where we normally support farmers with seeds, because hitherto farmers buy grains and say they are planting seeds, which is not really the case. But because they have gotten viable seeds they record a bumper harvest. And not only that, just to lay credence to what Prof and Architect Kabir has said in terms of mechanization, we have also tried to see how do we support these smallholder farmers to at least reduce their drudgery on the farm. We have also see where do we get the simple farm tools that can assist these farmers, to the extent that some of them we allow them in as import, then our research institutions do reverse engineering to see how can they make it easier, simpler, and affordable to our farmers. That means they fabricate some of the parts locally so that it can be affordable. Because some of these machines that are coming from outside with the foreign exchange hike, it was difficult for even the smallholder farmers to own it. But government in its own wisdom procure these things, subsidize it, and sell it to farmers. Those farmers that can afford it, we encourage them to buy it and offer hiring services for those who cannot afford. At least with your token, you can at least hire the services for them to either do planting for you or harvesting. This has been going on since 2013. And by the time we encourage farmers or encourage people to go into agriculture, looking at agriculture as a business, farmers, the number of farmers have increased tremendously. So what government is even getting is not really enough. But we are trying to see that we have used other interventions to cushion the effect. Like now, if you want to plow or harrow your land, you will be waiting because the tractors are not available. Despite the fact that there are farmers that can afford to pay for the service, but you have to queue to wait for somebody to finish his own before it comes to you.
Sir, please, I am not stopping you, but this tractor you talked about, the tractorization of the agricultural sector you mentioned, there were programs in the past, even during the regime of the current president of African Development Bank as the Minister of Agriculture. There was a deal with some tractor companies in Europe. Right, and America as well. And of course, at that point, we all believe that perhaps it wouldn't take longer for us to begin to have that partnership, achieved. Because the point that they will come here for assembling, establish assembly plant in Nigeria, and all of that. So what happened? It fizzled out all of a sudden.
Yes, I agree with you. You see, the issue is there are a lot of policies that will come and could not be sustained. And that one makes it difficult for the partners to key into it. But like the example we have just given, the Brazil-Nigeria bilateral agreement that has been entered into as far back as 2016, 2017, thereabout. That agreement has almost been sealed. Unfortunately, the issue of funding, the Brazil government development bank cannot fund the whole project. Therefore, they were asking for another bank that can take part of it. And we got Deutsche Bank to do that. Unfortunately, Deutsche Bank has their own terms of agreement. They are supposed to be in the first phase. And that is why it has not yet started, because we are still crossing the T's, dotting the I's with the Deutsche Bank. But for the bank, Brazil Development Bank, they are ready. Unfortunately, their own funding fall in the second phase. So we cannot jump to the second phase until we started the first phase. But I am sure the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning are doing something about that, because that one lies on them to do all the financial dealings. For us, in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, is to implement the project. As soon as they have finished their own side of the agreement, the implementation, we are already set for it.
All right, Engineer Abdullahi, thank you for the explanation, but I'll stay with you. While you spoke, you talked about getting seedlings for farmers and getting, some other farm inputs that farmers need. But Professor Oyerinde and architect Ibrahim made mention of the fact that while you try to get, some of this support, whether seeds, whether inputs, whatever it is, whether machines, the farmers, you actually do not get it to the farmers who need it, if I get it right, from what architect said.
I think they were talking, okay.
What is the procedure?
Good.
Because it looks like, and then from reports, I mean, last year there were so many reports about fake farmers here and there, political farmers. I mean, so what's the procedure of getting, some of these incentives or whatever it is that the ministry is giving to these farmers, to the real farmers who need it? Or is it that you have middlemen who help you get it to the farmers? Or how do you go about it?
You see, the procedure is very simple. We have state offices in all the state capitals, a full-fledged office that is responsible to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture with complement of staff. What we normally do, we get indent from the states based on cooperatives and commodity associations. Some of them apply directly to the headquarters. When they apply, we do assess their capacity, because some of them, as we all know, some will ask, he wants 10 tractors, while he has only 10 hectares. So with that, we don't have to give him 10 tractors. We assess you based on what you have. And that is exactly what we do with the cooperatives. If there are cooperative societies, how many of them, what do they grow? We now channel our support to that particular type of crop that they grow. And if they apply at the state level, states normally send it to us. That is our office in the state. They normally send it to us, and we have buy all those things and kept them in the states, so that we now direct those things to that particular farmer or group of farmers that are in that state, so that they can offtake it at that state, not necessarily coming to Abuja. Agreed, we have store facilities in Abuja, but just is for safekeeping, so that if we have need to deploy them to the state, we take it from here and deploy it to that particular state. So farmers apply for these things and they get it.
Do you actually confirm if the people who apply are actually farmers?
That's right, we do. That's why we are even targeting clusters of farmers or cooperative of farmers. Because if they are in cooperatives, it is very easy to assess. And even that is why with the supplementary budget, we have started collecting index from the states. That is to give us cooperatives that are into particular field of agriculture.
Engineer Gaba Abubakar Deba, you have given us an analysis that, of course, should make sense to everyone. But specifically speaking, when a representative of farmers is here, and he made it categorically clear that a good number of farmers who are the right farmers are not getting these incentives. So we're talking about the preponderance of it. It's not necessarily that real farmers are not getting it, but how many are getting it? You know, we have so many farmers. As we know, we are lacking mechanization in the system. Therefore, we have more of a subsistence farmers than the real farmers, you know, on a larger scale. So, Professor Yerinde, you talked about tractorization and mechanization. There's no nexus, or there is a nexus. I wouldn't know, but you said we need to specify that so that we clarify that, so that we understand what that means. Because I believe that when tractor is deployed in the farm, is also part of mechanization.
You know, yesterday I had a side discussion with some people, and that has reoccurred now. I said, even when we talk about giving incentive to agriculture, we always domicile it in crop production. It has happened. Like when the director was speaking, he's talking about seed. The livestock producers, the poultry producers, the fishery aspects, what are we giving to them as incentive? I raised that yesterday. I said the problem we're having with farmer herders clash is because we have not factored in the traditional herders, that's the Fulani S-men, and the non-Fulanis are keeping arts as well. We did not factor them into most of these developmental programs. The other one is the issue of people that are into poultry, because we have seen them as businessmen. So when government is even planning for incentive, planning for programs to assist, most of the time they are always excluded. But I'll go to your question, which is, I remember about 3 years ago that when there is no grain, there was no maize to even produce feed for the poultry. Then I think Architect Kabir was the president of Poultry Association of Nigeria. They cried out, although the government gave them some grains that time. But what we are saying is, this same set of people, they are still part of the agricultural value chain. We have almost about 22 value chain that the Ministry of Agri should be responsible for when they want to assist. In mechanization and tractorization. Tractorization is the use of tractor. And most of the people believe that when you want to talk about mechanization, it's just use of tractor. In mechanization, I wrote a book on application of computer into agricultural production, called Essentials of Computer in Agricultural Production. After writing the books, my friends in computer called me. Where did you read your own computer? Why are you talking the Internet of Things? Why are you talking about precision agriculture? Why are you talking about the use of sensors and the host of that? That is the in thing in the AFDB president raised that. He used that when he was minister, when he bought phone for farmer, and he was sending messages to them. But immediately he left, that did not continue. Because what we are saying is, the set of agric, even when you see people writing books on agric, doing a documentary on agric, they will be showing people that are aged, people that are haggard. If you see Architect Kabir, you want to be a farmer because you know that it's rich. So the younger ones should be seeing figures of agric that will entice them. And that's why when I became Dean of Agric in Faculty of Agric, University of Abuja, I changed the drive. I'm a practical person. Yeah. When you said I have farms, I was going to tell her I've been in honey productions as far back as year 2000, and I've established that wing grant. I did the work for FAO in the Great Green Wall Belt. But the major, there are gaps that I want the ministry to take from here.
Please go ahead.
The first one is data. The data of who are the real actor on the agricultural value chain is missing. The late Abaruma, there was a plan some time ago that I was planning something before he died that we should be, architect was involved in that too. The first thing we need is, what is the data? When director spoke, he was talking of states. Agric is not practiced in the states.
Prof, under Kwame Adesina, there was data.
Even now,
there was data because I was privileged to cover Agric under him. There was data. We were talking about some 5,000, between 5,000 and 10,000 farmers in Nigeria.
You know, but did we update it?
Well, that's what you should be saying.
Because then what I'm saying is, if we have an efficient data, we will surely assist the best set of farmers. We will surely, like when we are saying the state offices. Fortunately, I did my sabbatical with Raw Material Research Council. They have state offices. But in Agric, the difference between Agric and the other is that the real action happens in the rural area, in the villages. The local government, how is their involvement? If we want to assist farmer, we must assist from the local governments. Most of our local government don't have more than 1 or 2 tractors. I stay in Kwale Area Council, so I'm close to them. When the whole local government have 2 tractors, and they have expanse of land, how will the farmer not be queuing up? What does it take the government from revitalization of the tractors that we have in the country? I'm not saying we should import. You have power tiller, you have so many, we even have the producers of some of these implements that want to come to Nigeria. The smaller countries that we have in Africa comes to Nigeria to steal our policy. When we have NISA, Ghana have GASA. If you go to Rwanda, You see, most of them comes to Nigeria, they take what we have, the implementation and evaluation. The ministry are doing their best, but there should be a form of opportunity for evaluation of what is the impact of what we are doing. So the word mechanization is broader. The use of phone, the IT, for communication, for even learning. How do I practice this? We have so many younger ones that are into farming that they did not even learn it elsewhere. They learn it on their phone, and they are doing better. We have urban farming now, so everybody can. If you are staying in an estate, you can. One of my friends produced 500 tubers of yam at his backyard using sack and sawdust. There are ways you can do agriculture without the need for expanse of land. Because when you talk about modern agriculture, it doesn't require you having 100 hectares, 200 hectares. In the greenhouse.
And so this is a greenhouse.
In the greenhouse farming, you can be a multimillionaire by just having a small greenhouse.
Yes, of course.
So what I'm saying is, we should be introducing an agric that is attractive to everybody. When we take it as a business, the younger ones, like most of our graduates that left after some of this training, they are now employers of labor. But the issue is there should be incentive of, if you are interested in doing agri. We did it in 1980 something when you have farm settlements. If you have interest in being an agriculturalist, there should be a window as a graduate. This is what the government can give to you.
All right.
There should be a window. This is what your community can give to you. With that, most of our graduates are having problem of starting. And I used to tell them, you don't need to start with 1 million. You can as well start with 100, 200,000. By the time you recycle that, some of them are employed. I know one of them that have employed up to 5 staffs in Ibadan now.
All right, thank you, Professor Akim Oyerinde. Or maybe I should say Professor and Farmer Akim Oyerinde. Yes, you have actually talked about so many issues, and of course we'll talk about ways we can actually advance our agri sector, talking about the greenhouse and some other ways, planting in bags and all of that. We'll talk about that much later. But I want us to actually mention or highlight some of the challenges we faced, especially in 2022, just so that we could get it right this year. We have talked about where the federal ministry is not getting it right, where the government is failing and all of that. Architect Kabir Ibrahim, could you tell us the impact of natural disasters in the agricultural sector in the previous year? Well, and, how it was really?
The matter is beyond that. We started by having serious challenges from COVID-19, from 2020. And this, we have had insecurity that prevented some of the farmers from going to their farms. Then this year, we had this devastating flooding. You recall that there was a time we couldn't even go to the farm. We couldn't take our farm produce to the market. Everywhere was shut down. In fact, globally, we had that problem. There had to be a task force to be able to get the farmers to go to the farms and bring their produce and take back and plant and all that. Then, this insecurity in some parts of Nigeria is still there. I am really impressed that our contribution to GDP for last year was 23 point something. I thought it would be less, because of the disasters that we had. The COVID-19 is a natural disaster. It's a pandemic that has affected the whole world. The insecurity we have is as a result of a lot of inequity in the system. The flooding is a natural disaster. Even though you remember, I think in February or so last year, we were here, we sat with NIMET and the hydrological agencies. We told all our farmers where to plant, not to plant across the flood prone areas and all that. But the flooding came and affected almost everywhere where there was no flooding at all. The climate change, the effect of climate change in agriculture or on normal life or normal living is something that we cannot overlook. We have been in denial for a very long time. Right now, you know, it's raining terribly hard in Saudi Arabia. I have children there. Even this morning, somebody called me that the rains were too much. If you look at Bayelsa, most of it is still underwater. So these things contributed a lot to the inefficiencies that we had in the food system. But because of our resilience, you know, the farmer is very, very resilient. I mean, resilient.
Yes.
We still go out. We till the land. We don't have sufficient mechanization, as Prof has said. As Director has said, the question of mechanization is work in progress. We cannot survive on blame games. We're not. The people in the ministry are human beings like us. Most of them are actually farmers. Some of them leave office and are farmers, and some of them within the ministry are still farmers. So the Nigerian has to look at the issue of food sufficiency and food security as a means of survival.
Architect Ibrahim, you are continuing, you know, from where you stopped, but I just want to amplify, you know, the question put to you to also, you know, accommodate other concerns. For instance, you are a farmer, and you have headed different farmer associations. You know, you were once a livestock leader, and now you're still in it. So you understand this problem more than anybody else in this studio. Because one, it's not just that you're a farmer, but you also deal with your members who own farms, who have concerns, you know, challenges and what have you. What should be the best step to take? Because from what you have said initially, it does appear that whenever there's an intervention, that the real farmers do not get what they should get. Or that the number of those that get it did not represent the greater number of people that are involved in farming.
Okay.
Because we have to be specific here. So
let me come into even poultry, where he talked about. From the time that I was president of Poultry Association of Nigeria, the office of the DVS was very functional. Today, I don't know, the director would tell me that, about what is happening to the livestock sector. So, with different people coming to head the ministry, we have had different approaches.
Is that policy somersault or?
You see, the policy, I was in the middle of it. You know, when we launched the APP, it was the thing that really brought agriculture into the front burner. But we took the fine points of ATA to do the APP. Now, when the former minister came on board, we thought he was a farmer. He was our acting chairman in Kano before he became a minister. So we went as AFAN and gave him a blueprint on what to do to make agriculture work. We thought he was going to do it. He probably had problems in the ministry doing the thing, but he actually truncated even the gains of the previous administration. Because from what we saw, it was very clear that distribution of some of these inputs was flagged off in his home state, in his village, and he was always going to Kano to do it. I am from Katsina. The minister, since he started and left, he didn't go to Katsina. He did something in Funtua, which is Katsina State, but it was really a political outing by the representative, House of Representative member of that, who happened to be the chairman of agricultural production and all that. The distribution was mainly by him. So, see, some of these things are not really very well done, you know, involving all stakeholders. We are not saying that we must be there, But if you go to Katsina State, for instance, and you go to the Federal Department or Federal Director of Agriculture to ask him to get all the farmers around and so that he would give these inputs and all that, and you do not involve the farmer leaders in the state, for instance, AFAN, all the commodities are around AFAN. I should know that because I also was a commodity person before I became the president of AFAN. As a poultry president, I was automatically under AFAN. And anytime AFAN had information, I would get it. In fact, I became president of AFAN because I was, as a president of Poultry Association, an automatic vice president of AFAN. And the AFAN would lead the way and I would follow. Since some people came, they tended to think that you had to be with them, beg them, be their boy to be relevant. As the Prof said, I have been in this business for a very long time. I don't think I should go to anybody to beg them to do anything.
And that is the bane of our development.
I think,
and do you have data of your members?
We have our own data, which we have even in the office, because our farmer leaders evolved their own data. Because you see in AFAN, before you are registered as a farmer, we have to know what you farm and where you farm. Because we are present in the 774 local governments.
Very important, knowing where you farm.
I'm happy that Prof mentioned the late Abaruma, who was promoting AfriDec. We signed an MOU that we are going to do a farmer data capture using monies that were allowed to be accessed by NIMSI, and the money had been warehoused in the CBN, $433 million or so. The World Bank gave it for farmers' data. But while we were doing that, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture had 2.8 billion to do farmer data capture. The former minister, working with somebody who was not in the mainstream ministry, tried to do a farmer data capture, and they said they had captured about 2.4 million farmers. We were in a meeting in the office of the Chief of Staff. When they put out that information, I was there. I said I was not aware that they were doing that farmer data capturing. And then the Minister of Finance at that time even supported me by telling the minister that, how can you say you have been doing that? And the president of farmers is here and he says he's not aware. So some of these things will have to be done, whether we like it or not, with the stakeholders. You do not have to like us. You do not have to like the people who are there. But we are there to do the work. And the people actually voted us into the office. We didn't force ourselves there. We were voted by people, and the people listened to us. And you must not make that trivial. It's a very, very serious matter, because it's voluntary. The people out there voluntarily said we should be their leaders. So if you say you are a leader, we want to look at your back and see who is following you. This is the most important thing.
Architect Abreu Ibrahim, thank you so much. Yes, of course, I'm sure that Engineer Abdullahi would respond, to some of the issues, because too many fingers are pointing to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, and it looks like a lot of things are not being done right. I also have, questions to ask you as regards, some of the issues that have been mentioned. But we'll just quickly take a break now. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
They swore an oath to serve our fatherland and defend the people. They traded their freedom, comfortable homes, and mortgaged their lives on the battleground for our unity and peaceful living. These are the great, fearless, loyal, and committed Nigerian armed forces who risked their lives courageously to safeguard our borders. But in the line of duty, many never returned. Nigerians, arise, let's celebrate our fallen heroes. Put on the remembrance emblem with pride to support the incapacitated and families of our fallen heroes.
The occasion gives cause for reflection and reminds us of the sacrifice made by our armed forces in preserving the unity of the country.
All ministries, parastatals, religious and corporate bodies to donate generously to the Emblem Appeal Launch. Send your donations to these accounts. Account name, Emblem Appeal Launch. Account number 393-200-7526. EcoBank Nigeria PLC.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
The Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthening the Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crime and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads. 2. Digitalization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the tap of a button.
This message is brought to you from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA, and today's topic is 2023 expectations for the agricultural sector. We still have our guest with us, and Engineer Abdullahi Garba is going to respond quickly to some of the issues that have been raised by both Professor Akim and Architect Kabir Ibrahim. That's and right. While you respond to these questions, you know, it's quite clear that, you know, there's so much that the government has to do as regards the agricultural sector. I would also like you to tell us what the government is doing in terms of attracting investment, because government can't do it all. So tell us how far you've gone, and what the plans are for 2023.
Good. Actually, just to lay credence to what they have said earlier, when I'm talking of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, in fact, there are key subsectors that we are referring to: fisheries, animal husbandry or livestock, and crop subsector. In the fisheries, a lot is going on because I'm aware last year and even in the 2023 budget, there are a lot of incentives that are going to be given to farmers to do aquaculture, where we can increase our fish production. Some of them are supported with fingerlings, some of them are supported with concrete tanks, some are having collapsible tanks, which you can even use your palo if you like. Then all of them will be giving capacity building to see how they can do this thing better. And it will increase our fish production, thereby reducing importation of fish into this country. When you look at the animal husbandry, they are also doing a lot for the small ruminants. Under the National Livestock Transformation Plan, a lot are there for those who are into small and large ruminants to benefit. The issue is of information. If you don't have the information, you will assume nothing is happening. But I want to urge people to go to the ministry, go to the respective departments, find out what is happening so that you can key in. Because at every level, for those who don't know at all, you can be sensitized to know how you go about it. For those who are doing it in a small scale, you can also be supported so that you can increase your level of participation in the whole thing. And in the crop subsector, just as I said, if you want to start, we can even give you technical backstopping, where you will know, if you tell us the land, we'll be able to tell you what best you can crop there so that you can get the maximum benefits. So the moment people don't get this information, they will sit down and say nothing is happening. But I want to urge people to make sure they either relate with our state offices, because agriculture is on the concurrent legislative list. It is practiced in the federal, in the state, and in the local government. So we expect different level of support. If federal government supports those doing agriculture at the local government level, and the local government are not supporting them, definitely it may not show clearly. So we expect that there will be support from all the three tiers of government so that the impact can be felt and be seen clearly. So also the issue of maybe attending to farmers who are into this kind of either crop, fisheries, or livestock. There are so many programs outlined that will target support to these farmers. We cannot say everybody will get it because of the little resources and the competing demands. But at least we have data that we can show. This year, we have supported this number of farmers. In fact, the previous year, we have done rollouts in the 6 geopolitical zones. It will be difficult for us to go to each state because of the resources also. But we done it on zonal basis. For the North Central, it was done in Abuja here, in the old parade ground, where farmers were gathered from all the states. At least commodity associations were giving some packages for their farmers. When they don't give it to the correct farmers, I think it is another issue that we should look at. But as far as we are concerned, they are the associations registered, and we have seen their profile that they are doing it, and we can hand it over to them. Okay. But we always ask for those that benefit. In fact, like the last wheat distribution we did for this particular dry season, what we are asking is we should get phone number and the number, the quantity of seed given to that person. We want to monitor. We want to see what is the output. Is he really increasing his productivity or not? If there is issue, what is the problem, so that we can address it subsequently. Okay. Yeah.
So, well said, you know, and you talked about people not knowing the programs of the ministry. But I know the ministry also has an information department.
That's right.
I know that should disseminate information on what you are doing.
That's
and again, I want to believe that there's a synergy, or there should be a synergy between the Federal Ministry for Agriculture and state ministries of agriculture, irrespective of the fact that it's on the concurrent release.
That's right.
All right, and let's talk about livestock, gentlemen. Because this administration tried to do something in the livestock sector. That's why we talk about livestock transformation plan. Yes, that plan has not manifested, and we talked about ranching. At a point, it was given another name. But the nomenclature does not matter. What matters is to achieve the objective. And now, just to recall this, sometime during the reign of Akinwumi Adesina as the Minister of Agriculture, he was in an FAO meeting in Rome. And guess what? He was trying to market Nigerian beef. He wanted canning of Nigerian beef. And the meeting was to ask EU to accept Nigerian beef. That was the meeting. And it was attended also by the younger brother of the Dangote group, which of course, showed interest in that. So why I'm recalling this is that you see that there was an advancement at that point, to say, look, we'll move into the livestock value chain to even become an international product that we can sell and it didn't work. Now, livestock is huge in this country. So what can be done? Because you are in a better position to let us know in the livestock. In fact, Prop too, because he's the farmer. Both of you could just
let me address the NLTP. The NLTP is really working, but the states have options to partake or not to partake. I know about 4 or 5 states that are already there. But the matter is like this. You look at the whole gamut of the issues. The issue now that is bothering people is the large ruminants, in fact, cattle. They are mainly talking of cattle. But as an architect, I also participated in doing the physical plans for part of the NLTP. When Dr. Kosari was running it, I gave him a blueprint and all that. And some states are adopting their own whatever they want to do. The thing that is happening is that we are not fully coordinating that thing. Even though the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is now really in charge of it, it is not kept abreast of the actual developments. The state governments went behind even the Federal Ministry of Agriculture's back to get some of these monies which they are using. In some areas, I even cautioned them that, okay, you took this money, you want to do this in these areas are not accessible because of insecurity. So how are you going to do it? So now they decided to do it on a broad-based level. If you are doing it in 34 local governments or 40 local governments and all that, the impact will not be felt. But you look at where the path, that is the grazing routes are, and then place those things around there. We know this for a fact, that whether you like it or not, this to semi-sedentarize or to even sedentarize the cattle people, it's going to be exceedingly difficult.
Okay.
We have, listen,
Okay.
I'm going to poultry now. Poultry and fishery. I am happy that
Brief, I wanted to have a prof's own take on that, but,
Yeah,
just be brief,
okay.
but time is...
Yes, poultry, for instance, is almost, the sector is the hardest hit now in the livestock sector, because the cost of feed now is very, very high. Most of the farms are closing. What we used to have when I was president was that the grains reserve, strategic grains reserve, would have a very large stock, a buffer stock, and they would do an official opening or release, and people who were users, poultry farmers, would get allocation there. Even Afan used to get allocation, but they were producers, so they used to give poultry, and some people who came and applied on their own would get it and sublet to us. In fact, when I was the president of Poultry Association, poultry had it so easy. There was a year that we got 24,000 metric tons of maize. I gave Obasanjo 2,100 metric tons. He thanked me for it. And I gave all, where we have the preponderance of poultry, we gave them all this for the feed. Now, what has happened over time is that the strategic grains reserve has got nothing. In fact, there was a minister who spearheaded the what do you call the concessioning of the thing. And then, you know, in 2028, no, I want to tell you something. In 2008, the strategic reserve was ramped up to 1.3 million metric tons capacity. Today, what we have in the hands of the government is hardly 400,000. And I'm sure we don't have up to 20,000 metric tons.
Let's hear from Prof. On this livestock.
The fact remains that we did not learn from history. In the sense that, like the grazing routes that you talked about, yesterday I was talking to people that we have used the grazing routes to build houses, to do other infrastructure. The people that own the animal doesn't have where they will graze again, and we don't want trouble. They want the survivor, the sustainability of the animal, and at the same time we want to continue develop that. When we are doing agri development, we did not factor in those set of people. We just neglected them. Like what is talking about poultry now, there's no way you can have a viable livestock production without factoring in them into development. It's not about policy. It's about thinking of solving their problem. I was telling people that the only way we can get out of this farmer herders clash and the host of insecurity we have now is that we have to engage all stakeholders on the value chain. When they are all engaged, you know, it will reduce the number of idle mind. That is the devil's workshop.
All right. I think I will stay with you, Professor Akimoyorinde. Because of time, I think we have done so much on the challenges in the agricultural sector. And for us to move forward and see results this year, it's for us to actually look out for ways we can solve some of these challenges. So, Prof, could you tell us, you know, certain things that you think can be done just so that we can see an improvement in the agricultural sector? While you try to deal with that, I would also like you to address the issue of education, because you mentioned that earlier. You said education is an issue, and because you are in the classroom, I think that as far as the agricultural sector is concerned in this country, it starts from there, because those who even graduate as agricultural in any field in the agricultural sector, some of them do not even know what to do when they're out of school. It's like they're just being taught the theory. They don't really know what to do on the farmlands and all of that. Because if we want to get it right, then of course we must get the right graduates out who can come out and, you know, they'll come to talk about other things. So let's look out for a way forward now.
Okay. The first step is one, the NUC released its present CC mass, which is a new guideline that is replacing the B mass for training of all kind of training in Nigerian universities now. And the bone of contention that Adan, Association of Dean of Agric, that we have with them is, you want to change Agric into, want to unbundle Agric and change it to 4 years, while you still have B Agric of 5 years. So why are you doing that? The 4th year program, the 4th year in the program is what we call farm practical training, which is a 1-year program. And what Adan is even proposing is that we should turn it to an internship where the student can be farmed out to go to established farm and have hand-on experience for the 1 year. That one is essential. On this program, I've met 2 ministers, the previous ministers, Nanono and Audwobi, who were on set here. And I discussed that there are massive land in all, what we call it, higher institution. University of Abuja have almost 12,000 hectares of land. Minister of Agri made a step all through last year that we had a series of meetings that they were even asking for about 3,000 hectares. The University of Abuja has opened up PPP, public-private partnership, with even industry, for instance, Campina Wanko and a host of others. Because the only way we can make it enticing to the younger ones is for them to see it physically, the modern ways of practicing agriculture. So those land, I know ACCI and a host of others that have written to the university that they want to come and do mechanized, modernized agriculture on our land. It's in the pipeline, and with my Vice Chancellor, I believe very soon we'll sign MOU on this. But we don't want it to be a University of Abuja issue alone. When I spoke, I remember Nanono said, this is the best direction that the country can go. Nigerian Army have started that. Opposite our university, you see Nigerian Army farm is very big. And when they did the templates, the then Director General General Kadai happened to be a friend. He shared it with me to have an input. And they want to cascade that and have that in all the barracks in Nigeria. He said security starts from full security and full safety.
True.
Okay,
not carrying gun.
We are managing time now.
Okay.
Well said. You know, I don't know where we missed it, missed the point, because even as a primary school pupil at my own time, we had farms. Every primary school pupil had a farm just beside the school. And we have over 150 research institutes in Nigeria. And about half of it, you know, agricultural based. I wonder why those institutes do not have farms. Do you understand? I wonder why an institution that has something to do with agriculture does not have a farm. Do you understand? But, you know, what obtains elsewhere, you know, is what we are talking about now. And for us to ameliorate the already deplorable agricultural condition we find ourselves, then of course, bold steps have to be taken. That's what you people are saying this morning. And of course, to round off, you just have to put in context what your other colleagues have said this morning.
So just as we have said, research institutions are supposed to have farms. Yes, they do have farms, but their farms are for research, where they can do the breeder seeds, the foundation seeds, and then give it out as certified seeds to farmers. You see, the issue is you cannot do your own and do somebody's own. It is always better for you to concentrate on doing your own. Right now, we have 73 varieties of rice. This is coming out from the research institutions. Location-wise, if you plant maybe variety A in location B, you may get maybe 3 tons per hectare. But that same rice, if you plant it in the proper location, you may get 5 tons per hectare. So these are some of the education that we want farmers to know. And that is why in the Federal Department of Agricultural Extension, they are also doing their best to sensitize the farmers. You see, this issue of extension normally is from the state. When we have the agricultural development programs, they are still collaborating with the states to make sure that these extension workers are trained and retrained on the modern agriculture so that they can disseminate this information. And these are some of the things that is happening. But because the country is large, the population is large, when it happened elsewhere and you are not informed, you would assume it has not happened.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Abdullahi. Would have wanted to hear more from you, but because of time, I think we'll just leave it at that point. And we also hope that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture will get some things right, you know, some of the issues that have been mentioned, just so that we can have a more productive year. Architect Kabir, your last words quickly. You have pointed fingers at the government, at the ministry and all that. I believe that the farmers are also doing some things wrong. I mean, let's be truthful. So now your last words to the farmers. Yes, what do you think they should do right
the farmers, first and foremost, should look at agriculture as a choice that they made to do business. You cannot depend 100% on any government intervention to do your... It's like you open a shop in Wuse Market. Does anybody really stock the shop for you? So the farm is your own. You must look for all the possibilities to be able to make it work. That is the way to go.
All right.
Agriculture is a business. You must run it as a business.
Thank
no
you.
amount of blame game can really take you anywhere.
I think that actually hits the nail on the head this morning. Farmers should take responsibility and be ready to do their work without waiting for anyone, so that we can actually improve the agricultural chain and, of course, have food sufficiency. That is what we want to see in 2023, not some of the setbacks in the previous years. Many thanks, gentlemen, for joining us on the program this morning. Engineer Abdullahi Garba Abubakar Deba, Director, Federal Department of Agriculture, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Also, we appreciate Professor and Farmer Akim Oyerinde, Professor from the Dean of Faculty of Agriculture, University of Abuja. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. We also appreciate Architect Kabir Ibrahim, Like Prof has said, you are a clear example of a good farmer. I want to look like you when I grow up. Many thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the program for today. Good morning, Nigeria. We thank you for being our guest. Please join us again tomorrow when we return with a fresh edition of the program. My name is Kirian Umar. I'll see you again tomorrow.
I'm Ian Ray John. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.